My life as a parent started on December 19th, 1994, when an exuberant 8-year-old bounded off a plane and into my arms. The flight attendant running after her laughed and said, "You must be her sister, Andrea." And my sister Adrienne replied, "Yep, she's my sissy." Neither of us knew it then, but Adrienne's 2-week holiday visit to Los Angeles would become a permanent stay. The day after Christmas, our mother called and asked if I would keep Adrienne. She didn't want to be a mother anymore. From 2,000 miles away, I watched as my mother's life unraveled. She was addicted to prescription drugs, but she was a high-functioning addict. She had always managed to keep a job until she lost her nursing license for shooting up morphine at work. I had been sending her money, and I gave her a calling card so my sister could call me whenever she wanted. I told our mother that if I took Adrienne that December, I wouldn't give her back. I don't think she cared. I had lifted the burden of raising a child off her shoulders. She gave her youngest daughter to her oldest daughter to raise. I was 22 years old. I had a college degree. I had a great apartment. I had some money. But I lived with my older boyfriend, who was an abusive alcoholic. And I worked in the sex industry, first as a stripper, where I met my boyfriend, and later as a masseuse, giving sensual massages with happy endings. My work didn't make me happy. It didn't align with my principles. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and illegal. But I was making too much money to stop. And now, with a child to raise, I needed even more money. I began interviewing potential nannies because both my boyfriend and I worked nights. After seeing how overcrowded the public school was, I found a private school down the street. I told myself I could pay the tuition if I worked 5 nights a week instead of 4. Then the unthinkable happened. Less than a month later, on an average Wednesday night, the LAPD busted down the door of a hotel room, guns ablazing. They screamed that I was under arrest. I still remember my body crumpling into itself as I wrapped my little black dress around me. I still remember my heart racing as I looked down the barrel of a gun pointed at my head. I still remember the shame creeping over me as my face turned red and tears sprang from my eyes. It was like a bad dream. And my first thought was, if I go to jail, what happens to my sister Adrienne? But the LAPD didn't want me. They wanted my boss. They had been building a case against her for over a year. I didn't know it, but I had been working for one of the most elusive and profitable pimps in Los Angeles. The cops took pity on me. I never got arrested. I gave a statement, and that was it. But overnight, I lost the lucrative income I believed I needed to support my sister. My boyfriend wasn't too happy either. He lost his meal ticket. One night, after totaling his truck, he came home in a drunken rage. When I locked him out of our bedroom and prayed that Adrienne's door was locked too, he tore the door off its frame because he thought I was calling the police. But I didn't. If they saw our living situation, my sister would be removed from my care and sent to a foster home. I couldn't let that happen. So I left my boyfriend. My sister and I moved to a different apartment in Hollywood that I couldn't afford. In less than a year, we were evicted. Then we moved to a small, cheap studio apartment where we shared the bed in the living room. At one point, I had 4 part-time jobs that allowed me to be on her schedule. I took her to school every day. I picked her up. On the weekends, I often took her to work with me. I wanted to get her into a better and safer school for 6th grade. So we moved over the hill to Burbank, which had one of the best school districts in the state. I began working as a substitute teacher for the district, a job I never would have gotten if I had been arrested. Money was still tight, but our lives were stable until I found a suicide note Adrian had written. She was 12 years old. I got her into counseling immediately, and over time, her depression waned. During her first year of high school, Adrian was an honor student with a 4.0 GPA. She had a wonderful boyfriend and many friends. She was a talented artist whose art was hung in 3 LA galleries. And because she loved music but couldn't sing, she was learning to play the bass guitar. But on May 16th, 2001, 1 month after her 15th birthday, I came home to discover Adrian crying, her body curled up in a fetal position on the floor. 6 hours later, an ER doctor told us she had tumors in her liver and lungs. That night was our first, but not our last, trip in an ambulance as she was transferred to Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. 2 days later, a biopsy revealed she had stage 4 liver cancer. Less than a week later, she began her first round of chemotherapy. She never went back to school in person, and I didn't return to work as a teacher until I began homeschooling her that fall. I spent almost every minute of Adrian's cancer journey with her. She only lived 147 days. On October 9th, Adrian died at home in her bed, surrounded by people who loved her. Her last words were, "I love you, sissy." Losing Adrian has been the greatest loss of my life. Raising her has been my greatest joy. Being her parent made me a better person who made better choices. They say that death ends a life, but not a relationship. And that's true. Adrian's influence on me and my decisions continues beyond her death. 1 year after she died, I founded Blue Fairy, the Andrea Wilson Liver Cancer Association, a nonprofit patient advocacy organization dedicated to helping people with the same type of liver cancer that killed Adrian. In December, Blue Fairy celebrated its 21st anniversary. On the same day that Adrian came bounding off an airplane for a Christmas vacation so many years before. When I think back to my life before she came to live with me, I don't know that person. I had abandoned my principles because I became obsessed with making money. But Adrian didn't need a fancy apartment, private school, or too many toys to count. I had no regard for my personal safety, either with my boyfriend or the dangerous work I had been doing. But I cared about Adrian's safety. I had no self-esteem. But being her parent gave me a purpose that I never had before. I chose not to go back to that life, even though there were times when I didn't have 5 quarters for Adrian's lunch money. We didn't have financial stability, but I loved her unconditionally. And I created a life for her full of compassion, consistency, structure, and boundaries. I watched Adrian grow into a remarkable, funny, wicked smart young woman. I never would have had that opportunity if I had said no to our mother. No, I cannot raise her. My life is an utter disaster. And although it never occurred to me to say no, if I had known how difficult it would be, I might have hesitated. If I had known Adrian was going to die, maybe I would have paused, if only to avoid a broken heart. We all face tough choices throughout our lives, and I encourage you, when you are the most scared, the most uncertain, the most confused, say yes. Don't worry about the how. If it matters to you, you'll figure it out. I would not be alive today if I had not said yes to raising my sister. People say I saved my sister Adrian, but she saved me. Thank you.